In Ramadan, we're focusing on some important historical events, one of which was the assassination of Imam Ali, Ali ibn Abi Talib. To talk to us about his life and impact, we have with us Dr. Leah Takim. Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us again. Imam Ali, as known to Shia, the first Imam or the fourth Caliph for the Sunnis, was a very, very important figure in Islamic history. The first person to embrace Islam as a child and a male. Tell us, please, about his life.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is difficult to do justice to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib in such a short period. But very briefly, he was the only person who was actually born and martyred in the house of God. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who was a great scholar amongst the Ahlul Sunnah, says very clearly that no companion of the Prophet has had as many excellences and fada'il and merits as Ali ibn Abi Talib did. There are different dimensions to the life of Ali, and I'll try and just encapsulate a few of them. He was the first one to collect and compile the Quran chronologically. In other words, he compiled the Quran in a chronological way. But I should mention that the same Quran that we have in our hands now. So the Quran that he compiled was no different from what we have now, except that it was chronological. He was also a teacher to Abdullah ibn Abbas.
Let me stop you there. Sorry, let me just stop you there so we can unpack this one by one. What does it mean to compile chronologically?
Because the Quran at the moment, as we know, is not in a chronological way. Whereas Ali ibn Abi Talib was receiving continuous instructions from the Prophet, and he compiled the Quran as and when, according to how it was revealed. That's what we mean by chronological.
And is that important?
It is important to know so that we can know exactly what verse was revealed where and under what context. Because context plays a major role in understanding the text.
Okay. So now you were going to say a second thing?
Yes. He was also, as a person, deeply spiritual, completely devoted and committed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we may call a God-centered person. One of the most important and beautiful verses revealed in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. Amongst the people are those who sell their own souls for the sake of pleasing God. This was revealed concerning Ali ibn Abi Talib. Interestingly, it was revealed on the night of the Hijrah, when the Prophet, as we know, left Mecca to go to Medina, and Imam Ali was actually sleeping on the bed of the Prophet. In other words, he was more concerned about the welfare and the safety of the Prophet than about himself. This was when it was revealed.
So you're talking about the night when he substituted himself when there was going to be an assassination attempt, showing his readiness basically to die in his place, the Prophet's place.
Absolutely. He was deeply committed to Allah and to the Prophet himself also.
I understand that he also married one of the Prophet's favorite daughters, Fatima. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about their relationship?
It was, yes, he married Fatima and they had 5 children. It was a very beautiful and wonderful relationship, cut short simply because Fatima died soon after the death of the Prophet, within a couple of months of the Prophet's death. But it was a wonderful relationship, as I said. In a short span of time, they had 5 children.
The Sunni and Shia perspectives on Imam Ali, how different are they?
For the Shias, Imam Ali was the first Imam, that is one who was appointed by God to succeed the Prophet. This is the Shia belief. The Sunnis also highly revere Imam Ali as a very loyal and close companion of the Prophet, one who had great merits and very close to the Prophet. For the Sunnis, he was the 4th Caliph. And I should also mention that the Sufis also adore and highly revere Imam Ali. Most of their turuq or silsila chains to the Prophet go through Imam Ali because of the spirituality of Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Would you like to share one of those things with us?
Yes, I mean, there's so much that one can say about the spirituality of Imam Ali. For him, he not only loved God, he adored God. For him, he called God from the very depth of his heart. So, in one of the du'as that he left for us, he says that, "Habli sabartu ala adhabik, fa kayfa asbiru ala firaki." Oh my Lord, supposing I can bear the punishment of your fire, how can I bear to be separated from you? In other words, separation from God was more painful for Ali ibn Abi Talib than the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was very, very spiritual. There are many, many du'as or supplications that he left behind us, which shows his complete dedication and commitment to the will of Allah. There are the munajat, conversations with God, too many for me to go over in this short interview.
One of these things that I've heard the Sunnis talk about is after we finish prayer, we do counting on our fingers of the glorification of God and thanks to God and things like that. And that this advice actually came to us from a situation between Ali and Fatima when they had been working very hard and were very tired. And Fatima had asked for a servant, and the Prophet had advised, "I'll give you something better than a servant." Is that also a story that animates Shia prayer?
Absolutely, it is. In fact, the Shias call it Tasbih al-Fatima or Tasbih al-Zahra, meaning the same thing that you mentioned, which is the Tasbih or Subha that the Prophet taught to his daughter in glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's part of our spirituality too.
At the beginning of our interview, you mentioned I think I heard you say that he was the only one to die in the haram. Is that what I heard you say?
In the mosque of the Prophet. He was born in Mecca itself, in the Kaaba, according to many, many reports, and he was assassinated in the mosque in Kufa.
So please tell us that sad story.
Yes. Before I go to that story, I would just very briefly like to say something about his humanity, because without understanding his humanity, we cannot really appreciate the life of Ali ibn Abi Talib. In one of the letters that he wrote to his governor in Kufa, that is Malik al-Ashtar, he says that there are two kinds of people. One are those who are brethren in faith in Egypt, because Malik was in Egypt, and also those who are your equal in humanity. In other words, you must treat all human beings alike. You cannot differentiate that I'll treat one person better because he or she is a Muslim and the other one is not. On the contrary, everyone should be treated equally. Similarly, there is a very beautiful anecdote that once he was walking the street of Kufa with his companions and he saw a poor man who was obviously very hungry with very poor clothes. And Ali turned to his companions. He said, "Ma hadha, what is this?" They said, "This is just a Christian visiting Kufa." And Ali said, "I did not ask you who is this. I asked you what is this. Whether he is a Jew, a Christian, Muslim, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's a human being and respect his humanity. Feed him, clothe him. Because as long as Ali ibn Abi Talib is the caliph, no human being will walk around in his state dressed like that."
So brothers and sisters in faith and brothers and sisters in humanity, that's a very important teaching.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are so many others that I can cite. But, basically, he was a person who was totally committed to social justice. And therefore, when he died, he only barely had 700 dirhams, which is very little in today's terms. Very little. Even though he could have amassed wealth, he was, if you like, the caliph of the time. He could have accumulated wealth the way that other caliphs did. But no, he lived a very, very simple life.
Too
He said, he reported to us, "Ya Hamra, Ya Safra, gharri ghairi," or gold and silver, go and deceive somebody else, not Ali.
Too bad our current leaders don't have that mindset. I think we're getting close to the end, so let's just talk a little bit about the assassination and the historical impact.
Yes, he was assassinated by a person called Abdullah the Muljam, Abdul Rahman bin Muljam. Basically, this man was a Khariji. The Kharijis is what we may call the fundamentalists of that time, believing that only they knew the truth and anybody else who believes otherwise was wrong. He was killed primarily because Ali ibn Abi Talib was forced to accept their arbitration as Siffin. A group of Ali's army then left him, and this is why they're called the Khawarij or Kharijis, those who exited from Ali's army. And they went so far as to believe that Ali became a kafir, na'udhu billah. So they planned to kill Muawiyah, Amr bin As, and Ali bin Abi Talib. The other two escaped assassination, but Imam Ali, as he entered the mosque of Kufa, some say while he was in prayers, Abdul Rahman bin Muljam struck him on the head, and then Abdul Rahman was caught, by the way, and punished accordingly. But this was a great, I think, blow to the Islamic history. One of the darkest period of Islamic history was the death of Ali ibn Abi Talib.
That's why a lot of commentators call the current Muslims who turn to violence neo-Kharijites.
Yes, and I would like to share one particular anecdote, if I may. I know we're running short of time. That after Ali ibn Abi Talib was buried, when his sons were going back to their home, Hassan, the son, heard a poor man cry. The poor man was obviously could not even see. And Hassan asked him, "Why are you crying?" He said, "For 3 days now, the person who used to sit and come and feed me is no longer coming." And Hassan said, "Who was that person?" The man said, "Look, I cannot see, but I used to ask him, 'Who are you? Why do you come to me?'" And he said that this person was telling me, "Al miskinu jalis al miskin." A poor man is sitting next to a poor man. This was Ali ibn Abi Talib. He would go searching for the poor, for those less fortunate, and would sit and talk and feed them.
Well, as you said, that's hard to scratch in 10 minutes, the depth of such an important and inspiring man. But thank you for joining us to give us a glimpse.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for watching Canadian Muslim News. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe and God bless.